Welcome to It's Not Just Menopause, the podcast that empowers you to navigate midlife with confidence through real talk, root cause insights, and no BS strategies that actually work. If you're dealing with fatigue, stubborn weight, brain fog, or just feeling off and overlooked, this show is for you. Discover what's really going on with your hormones and why it's not just about estrogen. Each episode breaks down what your doctor didn't explain, the internet got wrong, and what your body's been trying to tell you all along. From stress and metabolism to nervous system support and functional nutrition, we'll cover the tools that help you feel more like yourself, again, without restrictive diets, overwhelming plans, or hormone hype. I'm your host, Cindy Stickle, functional nutrition practitioner and certified menopause specialist. I'm here to guide you through the midlife noise so you can stop guessing, get the clarity you deserve, and finally take back control of your health. If you've ever felt dismissed, overwhelmed, or like your body just isn't responding the way it used to, you're in the right place. Let's rewrite the menopause story without the fluff. All right, so welcome back everybody to It's Not Just Menopause. And before we dive into today's episode, it's going to be a little different today, but I do have a question for you. So, have you ever looked around your house and felt overwhelmed by clutter, unfinished projects like piles of paperwork, or just the mental load of keeping everything together? Because, let's be honest, during perimenopause and menopause, when our energy is lower and stress is higher and life is already feeling full, physical clutter can start to feel even heavier. And so that's why I'm really excited about today's conversation. Joining me today is Tracy Hoth, a certified life and organizing coach, helping women simplify their homes, lives, and businesses through practical systems and mindset shifts so they can focus on what matters most. And as the host of the top 1% globally ranked Organized Coach podcast, she empowers women to declutter with confidence, create systems that last, and step into the role of organized life CEOs. So welcome, Tracy.
Oh, thanks for having me, Cindy. I'm so excited to be here and talk about my favorite subject.
Organizing, yes. Years ago, I was going to be an organizer, and then I just never went down that route. But yes, it is. I noticed myself that you do feel like heavier, like it's just like an extra weight on your shoulders when you just see clutter and things. And then all of a sudden you organize, or even just getting rid of old stuff, you're just like, ooh, there's more space now, So, and I know that it's going to be very helpful for this audience because stress does impact the perimenopause and menopause body even more. That clutter is like affecting their nervous system and could be making their symptoms even worse. So, I really wanted to, have you come on and share all your wisdom to, help alleviate a part of the stress that could be bothering, my listeners. So why don't you tell me like a little bit about yourself and, how you got into this?
Well, I have to go back to what you just said. Two things come to mind. They've done research studies and watched women especially, and even just thinking about their clutter creates elevated cortisol levels in their body. And so imagine if your house is cluttered, it's not the way you want, those prolonged elevated cortisol in your body, what it's doing to all your systems within your body. And then the other thing you said was they look around and all those, people may have heard of it called the silent to-do list, all the things that are out of place, all the piles, all the things that you haven't made a decision on, which is delayed decisions is clutter. All those things yelling at you, telling you over and over, deal with me. You haven't dealt with me. Why haven't you dealt with me? And all those thoughts, that is a lot of weight. I hear my clients say it's just the weight on their shoulders. So you just have to point out that it really does have an impact on your body, on your system, on your life.
It definitely does. And I don't think even I years ago would never realize it until after I had cleaned, and then you feel lighter and you're like, oh, wow, that does really affect you. It's just not something that you think of, on a daily basis because you're surrounded by it. And so it's just kind of like compounding and just,
Yes.
building
Yeah,
up.
one of
So,
my clients talks about when she goes to an Airbnb or when she's out of town at someone's house, how light she feels. And so that's when it really stands out. But
yeah.
in thinking of her, that's how I got into this. Well, I kind of always knew. And then because my husband and I had drawn logos back before we had kids, which is quite amazing. And I had a file that I used to rip out pieces of paper, like pictures from magazines. Back then, it was really just organized closets because that was before. I mean,
Yeah.
I had my first child in 1998. So it was before that. But my youngest child, we met a little girl on a walk in our neighborhood and they became best friends. They're still friends today. But the daughter couldn't have anybody in her house. I couldn't go over there. My daughter couldn't go over because the mom was just too embarrassed and she had clutter and she couldn't get on top of it. And so I remember when my youngest started school, because I was stayed at home with my 4 kids, and when she started school, I thought, okay, now is my time to start. And I offered to help that mom in her home
Oh,
organize, and we worked in the daughter's bedroom, and just seeing that, and pretty soon my daughter could go over to her house, and
oh.
she was letting me in her house, and it was just such a cool thing to be able to help someone like that. And so for the last 18 years I've been helping people get organized. And it's shifted. In 2018, I got life coach certified. And that was really when the change happened, when I started combining our mindset and our identity as an organized person or not
Right.
with the practical steps that I had been using the whole time. So then I started working online, and then I started helping business owners organize the back end of their business. So I've just been able to do it all and help different people in different stages of their life.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yes, so many people do feel embarrassed, but they don't know where to start because there's so much, so they
Yeah.
just don't.
Yeah.
It's just like, you're like, well, why bother? I don't even know where, but it's just starting somewhere, even a little pile, 5 minutes, just do it for 5 minutes and then that's done. And then move on and do it 5 minutes later. Like, little things like that for like baby steps, because I know
Yeah.
that's what I do sometimes. I'm like, I don't feel like tackling a whole thing, but I'll just do, okay, this pile right here, I'll do it. And then
Yeah.
it's done,
Well, I
so
created this last year. I created a 15-minute declutter challenge. And never, like in 18 years, I'd never created something like this before. And so I have a group called the Organized Life Academy for midlife women to organize their home. And I had the women in there. I said, okay, I've made this little challenge. I go, let's do it. We did it together on one of our calls, and they did it on their own. And I
wow.
didn't imagine the impact that it would make, because we'd already been doing stuff like that.
Right.
And they were like, Tracy, I just can't believe how much I can get done in 15 minutes. And I think
Oh my
we
gosh.
make it so big in our mind
Yeah.
that we, stay stuck
Yes.
in that versus getting started. And so that's made a big impact. And that's free for your listeners to get
Oh,
at
great.
simplysmartaway.com/declutter.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
they
And
can
I'll
get
have all the links for
yeah,
everything in
yeah,
the show notes too. So everyone can just, go there too. But yeah. Yeah, you don't realize that 15 minutes, especially women you're already working with, and there's
yeah,
still more stuff that you can do in 15 minutes. So yeah, we just live in such a materialistic kind of society, I guess now. And it's, not very healthy, for our well-being, because things just start to pile up, and then you have no room, and then you get a bigger house, and then you fill that bigger house instead of having a bigger house with less stuff, so
yes.
it's just like, just keeps snowballing. So, oh my gosh. So like, how would you, work with someone, like, to take them through like your program, or just getting them started?
A lot of people ask me that. And I think it's either you pick a place. Well, a couple of the questions I say is, where is the most friction? Where do you
Yes.
notice the most friction? Or the other thing is, what would make you the happiest? What
Ooh.
would impact your life the most if you had that done? And so I always say, start there, because that's motivating to you. It would make the biggest difference, or it would ease up some friction in your life. Definitely don't start with sentimental stuff. Don't start in areas that you have a lot of hard decisions.
Yes.
So often a guest bathroom is an easy place to start because there's not a lot of sentimental stuff in there. So that's good. But I have 5 steps. They spell the acronym SPACE. And those 5 steps are what I use for literally every single thing. If it's a physical space, digital clutter, my mind, every time I feel overwhelmed, that's a signal to use these 5 steps with my mind.
Ooh.
Or we plan our month like that, using these steps, a project, your calendar, everything. So that's what's so cool is once you know these, it'll overflow into the rest of your life as well. And you'll always be able to organize anything.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yeah, because there's clutter everywhere, like you said, even in our mind. So yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
So the first step is to sort. They spell the word space. So the S is for sort. And I have to tell this story because I think it's so impactful. I remember back before I knew anything about mindset, I was standing in front of a garage with another lady and she was 10 years older than me. And I mean, she opened those garage doors and I thought I was going to faint. I'm sure my jaw was like hanging open and I was like, oh my gosh, this is all too much. Like there is no way. This was my thought. There is no way her and I are going to be able to do this. And I felt, because I was thinking that, I felt overwhelmed.
Yes.
And I had to do something because she's paying me and we're just standing there and she's waiting for me to do something. So luckily I had that pressure, but I thought to myself, Tracy, the first step to organize anything is to sort. Just walk forward and grab something. So I walked forward and I perfectly remember it was a can of paint right in the front on the ground. And I put the paint and I said, paint supplies will go over here. And I picked something else and it was like a rake. And I said, lawn supplies will go over here. And she started doing what I did. And we sorted the whole garage.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. And it was only because of that thought.
Yes.
The first step to organizing is to sort. And it made me feel focused. And I walked forward and grabbed something to sort. So sorting has to be the first step.
Yes.
I think.
Oh yeah, because you're not going to know what you have until you sort it. And just the fact that somebody else's stuff overwhelmed you, that's how it overwhelms all of us.
Yes.
So, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy. And not knowing anything about mindset, but being able to look back on that. And I'm like, yes, your thought does create your feeling, which drives your action. And in that moment, I could see that so perfectly. So then once we knew what we have, once we have our things sorted, and one thing to note there is don't sort into keep, donate, trash. Because you don't know what you have yet. You're making decisions in the sort stage. We're just sorting like with like, books, office supplies, clothing, whatever. Then the second step is to purge. And one of the best things I use in this step is to choose your favorites. So you look at one pile of one category and you pick out the favorites, your go-tos, the things you use all the time, and set those aside because you're keeping those. And then you can ask those questions like, is this essential? Does this bring me joy? Any of those types of questions. But also, have I used this? Is it work? Do I love how it feels on me or feel using it to make decisions?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, because you could see like a big pile of one thing and then that is just going to overwhelm people too. So I like how you take out what you like, your favorites and what you're going to use. And then helps simplify the process a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And then now you know what you're going to keep and you assign homes. That's the A, assigning homes to things. And it's a little bit of a puzzle, like where things are going to live. One of my clients, this is the step that really caught her from continuing because she was a perfectionist and she wanted everything to know for sure that this was going to be the perfect home. And it was hard for her to make a decision. And so we look at your mindset there. You're believing that something has a perfect home. So what she started thinking was, I'm going to test if this is going to be the future home of this item. And so for her, it was really helpful. And what's so amazing about doing the process of organizing is you see, I'm actually doing the same thing in other areas of my life. On her calendar, she noticed that she wasn't putting things on her calendar because she didn't know if it was the perfect home. In her dating life, she didn't want to date because she didn't know if it was going to be the perfect person that was going to have a spot in her life. And so just taking the things you learn in organizing is so fun because they overflow and you can relate them to different parts of your life.
Definitely. A lot of it is mindset, and that does affect other areas of our life for sure.
Yeah. So assign homes, and then the fourth step is to contain. And this is what's very need to know this. Do not buy containers before you get to this step because you don't need more containers. You can shop your house. You probably have a box that will work until you know if that's where it's going to live, if that size container works. And then you can go buy something more aesthetically pleasing if you want to, or the clear containers you can see through. But for now, you don't buy anything until you get to that step. If you need something, for sure, then you can go get a container. But I always say shop your house. Containing is just to keep it in order. And then also when it reaches the limit of that container, that shelf, that divider, then oh, that's my signal. I need to go back through these steps and reorganize it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. That's helpful for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's easy to go buy more containers and have way too many.
Yeah, for sure. I know I remember helping a client a long time ago, and we emptied containers. She literally had a mountain of baskets and containers and bins on her bed that we had emptied that she had bought thinking they were going to help her. And it was such a mess because then she's like, well, this is a good container. I don't want to get rid of this. Well, every single one of them was good and cute because she had bought all those cute ones.
Right.
And then the final step is to energize. And this is where you over celebrate your accomplishment. I don't care if it's 15 minutes of sorting, you need to over celebrate, really teach your brain that this is positive, you are doing enough, this is good. And then we want to maintain because now that energy can be used on something essential in your life, on meal prep, on planning, on walking, on enjoying the people in your home. And so we want to maintain that. So I always say tie the maintenance part of it to something that you already do. So I think of taxes. We do taxes every year. So organize your paper when you do taxes. Or we go to the gas station every week. So empty all the trash out of your car when you're at the gas station. Or with food, we bring groceries in. So tidy up your fridge or your pantry before you put groceries away. So there's little things you can do to maintain.
Right. Like habit stacking, and that way you're always, and then that becomes a new habit and it doesn't build up like it can. So I know some people's cars can be like pretty bad. So.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. So, and then what else, like once they go through all this, like, would you recommend like your 15-minute, challenge or something to like for maintenance for people, so that way if they're not like remembering to empty that bin when it gets full again or things like that, what are some things that can help people like stay on top of it?
Yes. Yeah. Because that's a big thing. In Organized Life Academy, we focus on a certain area of our home or room of our home once every month. And so if the focus like this month is our kitchen, then people that have already organized once last year, they're going through that and they're maintaining the different areas of their kitchen. And I kind of think of it like an onion. So you're peeling back a layer of onion. So you did the first time when you organized it, and then you're decluttering a little bit more the second time, and you just keep peeling those layers back. But I think once you go through your home and you have a lot of it decluttered and organized, you start thinking differently. And I've noticed this with clients. They're like, oh, I was working in the linen closet or I was putting laundry away and I just decluttered a shelf in there. And I think you start liking what it feels like and what it looks like. And it starts to become something you do as you're living your life. You go through different parts. But I also have we call it our secret room not because it's secret, but I mean, my boys used to be in there. It's the attic space off their bedroom. So we kind of called it, ooh, it's their secret room. And we always call it that, but it makes people laugh when I say it. But that is our place where we will stick clutter, delayed decisions. So someone will redo their room and they'll put all the leftovers in there, or we'll stick like a hamster cage in there because we
Yes.
don't know if we might want another hamster one day. This was in the past, and
Right.
so I do just have to schedule on my calendar when we're going to declutter
Yeah.
that room
Yeah.
because it builds up. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
normal to have that happen. So that's one thing. And then I'll ask all the people in my house and now that's going down. So this is
Yeah.
becoming easier, but I'll ask, can you guys help on Saturday? Or I'm going to be texting pictures to people that have left the house,
Mhm.
if you want to have this item or not.
Right.
And so we kind of put a plan in place where it's on our calendar and we know the steps. So it's not that big of a deal. It just takes a little effort, get some help, and you get that done. So
Yeah. That's good.
that that's one way I'd say for sure is you think differently, you live
Yeah.
differently, but then you do need to get it on your calendar and have a time
Yes.
for it.
If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't get done. And it does feel almost like, I don't know, contagious comes up, but it's like where you do something and then it's like, ooh, what else can I organize? Or, ooh, and then I want to go do this, so you kind of get like motivated, I guess.
Yes.
Like when you talked about how, yeah, you start thinking about it different because you're like, well, that wasn't so hard. So, I can do this.
I love the
Um,
word contagious. That's
I
so
just kept
good.
coming up. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but yeah. What about if there's smaller kids, and getting them involved? Like, is that a good idea, a not good idea? Because I know they want everything and they're attached to everything. Like what would be good for, people that have, that they want their kids to learn, but
Mhm.
are they mentally prepared, to handle like getting rid of stuff and things like
I
that?
think start as young as possible. But even if you haven't, you are an example. So I think it
Yeah.
starts with you. Of course, you're the example and you're showing them, you're talking about it. With my kids, one of the tricks, I guess, or things is to set a container, let's say for things that they can keep, their special items. And
Mhm.
then they can see naturally, oh, this container's filling up. And now I have to make some decisions. And you can spread the things out and say, okay, if you could only keep two things, which two things would you keep? And they can put those in the container. And then
Right.
what was one more thing you would keep? And they put that in the container. So they're actually seeing like life does have limits and we have a space limit
Yes.
that we can keep special things. I used to do that with the kids, like papers they brought home from school or
Oh my
craft
God.
projects or whatever that they would bring home. I'd
Those
have
add
a
up.
bin and they would have a folder for each year, a little folder in
Mhm.
there. And so when we would make it fun, like at the end of the
Yes.
school year, we'd go down and we'd say, okay, and we'd sit, we would look at the stuff in the folder, and then they
Yeah.
would be able to decide. And it was interesting because they would look back and they'd be like, why did I keep that? And then they were able to get rid of it. A few things I was like, wait, you can't get rid of that. That's really,
Yeah,
but they would be like,
that's fun.
I'm getting rid of that. And so it's fun for them to see,
Yeah.
yeah, one
Oh,
time
yeah.
really special.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember because I only have two kids, but yeah, just I would keep everything for the year, and then it's like, man, that's a lot. And then year after year after year, it's like, okay,
Ooh,
we have to go through this and can only keep a few things. So yeah, that's yeah. I was always one to like like I said, I was going to be an organizer probably like 20 years ago. And
yeah.
so I like to organize, and then things happen, and life happens, and you need to get back into it. But my kids are like that too. Like, they know like purge once in a while because you can't hold on to everything. So, but yeah, and even with kids, because I know if it affects adults, the stress from the clutter, that it's impacting your kids, your teenagers as well. And so that's always a good incentive to help them, you
Mhm.
know.
And
declutter and organize.
yeah, and I know in school they kind of teach it a little more, I think. They give them folders or they give them a calendar in school, at least kind of they
Yes.
did for my kids at one point. But it is a skill that has to be
Yes.
taught. So I
Yeah.
always think if you have a cluttered home right now and you want to live in more clutter-free space, that there is only two things stopping you: a skill set or a mindset gap.
Hmm.
And so, or
Yeah.
a combination of those two things. And so what are you believing about yourself? What's your child believing about themselves? What have they heard about a lot? Like, you're the messy one, you're the one that's the piles the stuff, your room's always the messiest, like
Yeah.
those kinds of things. But then also a skill gap. So people have to be taught, they have to learn the skill, the steps, and then really start thinking more like someone who's organized. And
Yeah.
I even teach people to have like a alter ego, or some people call it method acting, where you are
Hmm.
acting like a person that's organized, and you can make up a name for that person. You can use someone that you know, and you can start saying, like, how would they think? What would they do in this situation? And it's really helpful because that's who you're becoming as
Yes.
you make these decisions and go through
Yeah.
your stuff. And so start thinking like them in advance.
Oh, definitely. Yes. And because you're kind of like, s- since you're living that person in the moment, you're like, it's like that mindset. You're starting to say it and believe it, and then you can't help but start to become more like that organized person.
Well, and
So
I think
yeah.
about that with food right now too. I mean,
Yes.
I'm eating a lot more plant-based foods, and I'm thinking like, what would someone who already does this
Yeah.
think like? What would she do? And I'm starting to think and do those things, and it's exciting. It's like I'm becoming that person that I want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like, and so all of your skills and the things that like you teach people with organizing and everything, it definitely flows over into all aspects of our lives, because you just, like you said before, you start looking at things differently, and and then you also have a little more time because you're not sitting there staring at your piles just procrastinating. You actually have the time to go, like you said, go for a walk or go do things, meal prep and stuff like that. So yeah, so it sounds on the surface like, oh, you're just helping me organize, but it's like a really life-changing thing because
It is.
it hits every part of your life.
And if people think of it like that, like it's just even a healing process, you're going to learn stuff about yourself. You're going to identify some old identities, even old roles
Yes.
that you played. You're going to be able through this process to think, where am I going, especially in
Hmm.
midlife and beyond? Like, what am I doing now? What are my interests? What do I want to spend time on? And what do I need for those things? And what can I let go of? That's the old things. And a lot of emotions come up. There
Oh
could be
yeah.
some mourning about things that you didn't get to do or didn't turn out the way you wanted to. And
Yeah.
that's a whole healing process in itself that you
Hmm.
can use decluttering as a what's the right word? Uh,
Kind of like therapy in a way, but not,
yes.
like you're processing
Yeah.
things and
I think I
like,
was thinking a modality, like as
okay,
a
yes,
modality
yes,
or something for
yeah,
this self identity thing
hmm,
that you're going to go through. So it is kind of
yeah,
fun.
yes. Oh, definitely. I remember seeing a few episodes of like Hoarders and just the transformation that the people made from start to finish. Yeah, a lot of that, we didn't see that on the show, but it was all that processing through and
Yeah.
yeah, and like grieving who they aren't anymore and not being hard on themselves for what is happening, and yeah, it's definitely life altering for sure, and a lot of people don't realize that with,
Yeah.
organizing.
And that
What,
self identity of what you're going through in those moments, a lot of times I see that things that happen in our life, it might be someone's death, it might be having a baby or moving. It's those transitions that we go through that really cause us to get behind and then get stuck in
yes.
hoarders, a lot of times that's what happened. They went through something that was maybe traumatic and then
Yes.
started building
They,
up from there.
yep. And they
Yeah.
just were stuck there and they
Yes.
just couldn't move past it. So yeah.
Yeah. So have so much self-compassion on, where you're at in your life. One of my clients came to me and that is what had happened to her. Her husband got an illness, so she was his caretaker. She had a full-time job. She had a teenage daughter and she just got so far behind and she had paper everywhere in her house and she was so stuck. She said, I've just been frozen for the past couple of years. And so when we started, one of the thoughts that really helped her was, I have a plan. And now we created a plan. So now she could think, like, I know exactly what to do. I have a plan.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was super helpful to her was she committed to sorting 5 pieces of paper every day.
Oh, good.
And so she did. Of course, some days she could sort for an hour, but other days she couldn't. And she was had started focusing on her health a little bit too. So she was walking 5 minutes every day. And so doing 5 pieces of paper every day was doable to her. And she said, her thoughts were, I have a plan and I'm committing to sorting 5 pieces of paper. She set the boxes up to sort some of the main categories that might be things she would be sorting into. And she transformed her entire house. She sorted every piece of paper in her house and got her life back just because she thought, I have a plan and I'm going to sort 5 pieces of paper a day.
Yes. And that's all it took. Like 5 pieces of paper. Like you don't have to run that marathon. You can just take that first step to do it. And I know paper can be so, like, just the amount of like junk mail and mail that you get and stuff. And I was always like that. Everything needs a home. And so I have files for like everything. Well, then I'd be like, okay, pretty soon the stack of papers on top of my filing cabinet were like this. I'm like, all right, time to go sort them. So I'd sort them out like, oh, this is medical. This is what taxes. This is, whatever, vet visits or whatever, and then I'd put them away and then it'd be done. But it's like, it's so easy for that to get out of control with the amount of stuff that we get. So I understand the paper thing.
Yes. I love how you just said you naturally sorted first and you can do that so fast. You get so good at sorting and it happens. The other thing that I thought of is resistance is the hardest part. Anytime you notice that you're resisting, just think about, I've resisted for 4 days to deal with that pile. That's the hard part. Sometimes when I'm laying in bed in the morning and I said I was going to work out and I don't want to get up and I'm like, look at me, Tracy. Resistance is the hard part right here. I am having these mental arguments with myself and that's the hard part, not just putting my feet on the floor and getting up.
Yeah. And by the time you have that little conversation with yourself, that thing that you don't want to do would have been done.
Yes.
Like sometimes, like it would have been like done and over with, and you would have been going on with everything else. No,
you would have been so happy that you had it done.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's so true. I was gonna mention something about menopause, and I totally forgot. But how does your program work? Like, 'cause it's a group program, you said. So how does that, like, if you can give like a little overview of like how it works?
Organized Life Academy is I have it set up as a year program. And each month we make a plan. We have a planning call. So we make a plan for the designated area that I've chosen. I've just chosen room by room or area by area for us to focus on. People are welcome to, pick a different area if they were working on something they needed to do. But we make our own plan. We walk through the steps at the beginning of every month and we make our plan. And then I have an expert guest that comes in. It's been so fun having these experts talk about different topics. And then we have coaching calls. So what's keeping you stuck? What's happening? What are questions? How can we, keep you moving forward? And we have a community where people share before and after pictures and they encourage each other. That's been fun to see. And we keep going. We're moving through creating the life and the space, the house, the home that we want
That's
to live
nice.
in as
Yes.
we enter this next phase of life. And so I have people in there that are 50 and the oldest is 93. She is
Wow.
an inspiration to all of us. She's probably the most active person I've ever met. And it's just been so fun.
Wow.
We all want to be her when we grow up. And
Yes.
it's just been a really neat
Wow.
community of women that are
Oh,
making
wow.
those changes.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, something you just said. A lot of people downsize when they get older, empty nesters, and they don't want to stay in a house anymore or a big house. And so starting now to start to organize and declutter will just make that move a little bit easier, because as you're purging throughout, however, your year, like once a month or whatever you do, to purge, then you won't be trying to tackle. Like, I keep looking around. I still have some of my kids' stuff here. In fact, one of my tiny bedrooms is the storage for my daughter and her husband that live in an apartment, which they don't have a lot of storage. It's like her seasonal stuff is here. And I'm like, ugh, at least it's all in boxes and easy to move. But, and it's like, okay, like if I was to have to pack, like starting today to move, I'd be like, oh my God, just give me a dumpster and I'll just throw it all out. Like I am so not there. But by starting, then, and you can start getting into more, like, I've always loved the minimalist kind of lifestyle, not super minimalist, but not cluttered either. And if you walk in my house, you're like, yes, we live here. You can tell.
Yeah.
We have 2 dogs. I have 2 grandkids. Like, yes, people live here. So, but yes, I need to start too myself. And that way it's easier, like when the time comes to move. For sure.
Well, that's one of the questions. Well, 2 questions that I'm asking myself, because I'll go through the areas too that we're working on. And, I mean, I have a pretty organized home just because I'm consistent. I've been doing this program for 6 years, but this year is a little different. And I'm asking myself, never thought this question before, but does this make me feel elevated? And I love that
like that.
question for myself. Does it? Because I immediately know, like, I'm just keeping it because I have it, because someone gave it to me, or whatever. It doesn't make me walk into my room or open my cabinet and feel just so in love with my home. And so, does this make me feel elevated? And then the other question I ask, because we had kind of looked at moving, because there's some work we need to do to our house. And I'm like, do I want to spend the money on that? So we kind of looked at moving, but then I don't want to spend the money on that. And so, but every room I go in, I want, when I finish it, to be ready to move. Like everything in there is what I want and what I feel elevated with. And I would want to move it. And I'd want to be able to list my house in a weekend and be ready to go. So as I'm going through this space by space, it's been so good to ask myself those 2 questions.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I feel very, very behind right now. If that were to happen.
No. You feel very motivated to get started.
I am.
But it is like, just pick a room and start going through that room.
Yes.
Empty one little space out at a time. As you empty it, sort, and then go through the organizing steps. And I always tell people too, don't do too much. And a closet is such a good example of, just pull out all your pants and look at them, pick out your favorites, try everything else on, and then put those back. And then the next day, 15 minutes, just pull out your tank tops or whatever other category you have, or your shoes, and go through one little area at a time. That's all it takes.
Yeah. I've heard years ago, I heard of someone saying, just set your timer for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're like so into it, you're like, oh, I'm going to keep going. But then sometimes if you're good, okay, you did 15 minutes, whereas you hadn't done any before. So that's still a step in the right direction.
Yes.
But I like the idea in your group of tackling like one room a month, because I know I would be like, well, I can do a room in a week and I can do this room in a week, but it's like, okay, no, I run a business. I babysit 2 to 3 days a week, where I can't like do that. Well, I could, but it'd be a little harder. So it's like, that's extra pressure and it's unrealistic, really. Not unless you have to, because you're moving quickly. But if you're just doing it to get to your stuff. Yeah, I like the one room a month because a room has a closet and the room. And if it's like a master, it has a bathroom, so there's like more rooms within some of them. So,
Right.
yeah. And just those bite-sized pieces. That's all it takes because it just snowballs and you just keep going. So it's like training for a marathon. If you've never done it, you don't go out and run 26 miles. You start just by walking and then you get a little better and you go and then you start running it, but you're doing short distances. So that's basically it's a marathon to clean your house or to organize your house because it's not a sprint. Like you want to take your time. You kind of have to take your time because there's stuff to go through.
Right. And
For
I've
sure.
been redecorating too. So since we decided we don't think we're moving, I'm like, well, then I'm making the front room of my house this big dining room like I always wanted because I always want to have people around the table and not be crowded. So
Right.
I've redecorated and created these new little spaces in my house that we've lived here 21 years and I've never done that. And it's so fun
cool.
because you get to
Yeah.
clean out an entire room and create a space that just brings you so
Yep.
much joy. I've been realizing what artwork I like, and I have this art that every day I walk down my stairs and past that front room, and I see this beautiful piece of art that's titled By Still Waters, and it makes me so happy. And that's the only thing on the wall. And my husband's like, well, what are we putting on the other wall? And I'm like, nothing. We are just looking at that art every day. And it's just been so fun. I used to do that with my kids too. We would like be going through school clothes or organizing their rooms. And I'm like, let's move the furniture around. Let's make it fun. Let's have something new. That just
Yes.
be motivated.
My husband would come home from work some days and I had totally rearranged like the living room. Like I had furniture sliders, so I didn't need any help,
Right.
So I was like, I would just I was like really into feng shui. So I'm like, no, it needs to be here. We'll do this, And yeah, I would do that all the time. I haven't done that in a long time and I really need to do that. I mean, it changes up your house. It gives it a fresh look. It looks like a new, different room, and so and then it just makes you feel better.
Yeah. One of my clients just cleaned a little portion of her countertops off and she maintained that section of countertop clean for like a couple months. And then she's like, Tracy, I feel so good when I see that. So now she just cleaned a little more portion of her countertops off and she's just enjoying it and maintaining it and moving little by little. And so just know like little things at a time are going to make the difference for you.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and you don't have to bite off more than you can chew, just those baby steps for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been, oh my gosh, this has been great. I need to look into your program. Because I know how to do it. It's just as a business owner working from home, I work all hours. I don't like when I used to teach, I'd be like, I'd home at 4:30 and I wouldn't bring stuff home. And, so then I would do stuff and not feel guilty. Here, I'm like, oh, no, but I got to do this. I got to email my people. I got to do this. And then so my house is just like, it's not messy. It's just there's some clutter that I really do need to put away. And pretty soon, like, it's just me and my husband, the kitchen table. I'm like, okay, half of it's covered with stuff. Time to clean off the table, because it's like, oh, here's this mail. Here's this thing. Got to pay this registration, things like that. And I'm like, yeah, no, and it's a small table. It's one of those like bar size. It's only 4 seats. So it's small on purpose. Yeah. And then half of it gets covered. I'm like, okay, oops. But it's things like I have to learn how to stop working and not feel guilty that I'm not working on my business and do stuff in the house. I had a goal beginning of the year to empty 1 black garbage bag a week, which is not a lot of pressure. Like, yeah, here we are in June.
Well, all it takes is you putting that on the calendar.
Yep.
When is the next one going to be? And isn't it interesting? I didn't really thought about this before, how you said you feel guilty about not working in your business. But do we feel guilty about not creating a space in our home that we love? We spend so much time there and we want to feel that lightness and that freedom in there. So it is interesting thinking of the opposite, that we don't.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm like we have Christmas here, so of course it was clean for Christmas, and things like that. But it's like, yeah, I have to keep it that way, and I need to actually spend more time doing that and not doing stuff I probably don't need to do on my business, like just extra things like, oh wait, my website needs to be updated kind of thing, which
Right.
is not totally urgent. My clutter and organizing is probably more urgent there, so
in only 15 minutes, and you want to do it because it feels
Yes.
good, and
it does.
it creates the space you want.
It really does. It definitely does. But oh my gosh. Well, this has been great. I have learned a lot for sure. I hope my, listeners, I'm sure they learned a lot too, because this is something that goes across all ages, all sexes, everybody. Everybody deals with clutter to a point, maybe not. Some people are good at it. But it doesn't discriminate. It's like we all have it. But yeah, so I thank you so much for being here, and all of her links will be in the show notes, her group and all her social media links. I just want to thank everyone for listening, and I will be in your headphones next week.
Thank you for tuning in to It's Not Just Menopause. I hope today's episode gave you real clarity about what's actually going on in your body and reminded you that it's not just your hormones, and it's definitely not your fault. If you found value in this conversation, make sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Cindy Stickle Nutrition, or head to cindystickle.com for more resources and personalized support on your menopause and midlife health journey. Until next time, keep questioning what you've been told and trust that your body is not broken. You just need the truth and the tools that actually work.